So I want to dig a little more into light.
Mhm.
We've talked about, the fact that people shouldn't be just have this blanket sort of avoidance of the sun and belief that sunlight is harmful to their eyes. I'm curious what you think about the role of artificial light from screens, as well as like indoor fluorescent lighting in relationship to things like cataracts and macular degeneration. Kind of the concept of malillumination.
Yeah. So if you and I were, say, all day in a in an office in artificial foods, it would be like if we went down the street and we went and ate McDonald's. It's it's so suppressing your immune system and your natural energy flow. So the idea that malillumination, malnutrition, we need to get at least 60 minutes of natural light every day. Notice how you feel when you go outside after working on the computer and you're in the sunlight in San Diego and you go, you take a deep breath. It's like that's what your nervous system needs.
Mhm.
So this idea of artificial light, actually you get more dental problems, more hyperactivity. I mean, the research is solid in terms of the light diet. And if you want to protect your eyes for part of the day to use a sun lens, well then get a really good polarized neutral gray lens. You can do that. But I want you to get 30 to 60 minutes of sunlight every day. You can do it before 10 a.m. or after 5 p.m. If you want to wear a hat, that's fine too, but you must get natural light. There's too much fear out there that's pumped into us being afraid of the sun. Hey, we are made of the sun. We are made of photons. Autoimmune, that's what you're basically teaching people to do. So, so many benefits from sunlight. And then in terms of the screens, the blue light, you probably know all this about how it's not good for your eyes and vision. You need to protect yourself, and you need to, take care about the blue light from the digital devices.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit more, because when we get natural light outdoors during the day, we're also getting blue light. But when we're getting it from screens, are we getting it in a different spectrum, or is blue light from artificial light from man-made electronic devices from screens, is that different in some profound way from the outdoor natural light, the blue light that we would get from that?
Yeah, it's very different because when we're outside, we're actually getting more of the frequencies, and actually the blue light actually increases as the sun starts to set. But on a digital device, basically you're getting this flickering coming at you all the time. It's a very narrow band of blue light, and it's going to damage the macula over time. Again, if your phytonutrients aren't there, if you're toxic, if your mitochondria aren't working, or another thing that's happening now is that people that do get cataract surgery, see, our lens, our original hardware of lens has a pigment that blocks the blue light. But when you get a cataract intraocular lens put in, it doesn't have that protection. And the doctor doesn't tell you that. So then in a year, you start developing macular degeneration, and you weren't told that you don't have the blue blocker in your natural lens, or to even get blue blocking lenses. So all these people now who've had cataract surgery are now getting macular degeneration.
Wow.
So I think, we need to know what our doctor is putting in our body. Plastic lens, the same thing. I don't want plastic in my body. Do you? So, these are things that, again, you can be proactive. See, what I see about eye doctors in general is that we are reactive. You go into the doctor, here's the drug, here's the steroid, whatever. And my approach is, no, let's be proactive. Let's educate you. Let's take you far from your status quo. And boom, you've got your vision back at any age, even as you get older. We can't blame it on age. No way.
Mm-hmm. So a few more questions on that subject. Should people be wearing certain, they're not like the same blue blockers that people wear at night before bed, that like I wear at night before bed, but they make certain blue blockers that block a certain band of wavelengths within the blue spectrum for people to use while working on their computer and things like that. Are you a fan of those or not?
So that's a really great question. And I did a lot of research on blue blocking lenses. And what I came up with is that during the day, you can wear that very light blue blocking lens. So you can still get some light into your eyes. And then after 6 or 7 o'clock, we probably have a similar thing. I have a much darker blue blocker lens. So if I'm working on the computer later, then it's blocking out more of the light. But I have a rule that you want to stop working on that digital device at least an hour before you go to sleep. Because you may notice if you're working on that digital device until bed, you're not going to sleep as well. And so there are different gradients that you can get that block out different wavelengths and bandwidths based on what time of day you're using the computer or whatever. So that's been my approach. And the feedback I've been getting is really good from people.
Yeah. Now, one other thing on that, you mentioned briefly the flicker from screens. So I actually have a fancy computer screen that I'm looking at right now, and it's one that I bought for a few reasons. One, it's really big, which I like to have a million windows open at once when I'm doing work, so I needed something that was a big screen. But the things that are special about this are that it's flicker-free technology. I don't know if you are familiar with that, but there's a few companies that make this flicker-free technology. And it also has low blue light settings on it. So the screen itself will, without me having to wear glasses, will eliminate like 70% of the blue light emission from the screen. And it's awesome. I love it. But what's your take on that? And also, can you talk a bit about the flicker thing? Because I think for me, it's definitely something that I think hinders people's energy levels without them realizing it, is when they're looking at screens that flicker. But can you talk about it from the perspective of eye health in particular?
Mm-hmm. So basically, a lot of people are getting into a situation where they're not using their eyes together. And their eyes actually travel at different speed in terms of processing information. So they've got this built-in flicker going on, and then they're trying to interface it with the computer's refresh rate. And it creates light sensitivity, headaches, fatigue. It's a real energy drain. And also, if they're wearing those tiny whole progressive lenses or the wrong prescription, then that makes it even more tenuous in terms of their own flickering versus, the computer's flickering. And then, of course, if their nutrients are not, they're not absorbing them, or they have inflammation or whatever, that's going to create all kinds of problems. I think what you have is really, really good. The thing that I would add is something called the 20-20-20 rule. You've heard of this. So every 20 minutes, you look out at 20 feet and you do that 20 seconds. And that little reminder of 20-20-20 really helps sustain people's resiliency in being able to stay on the computer all day. And yeah, be aware of that flicker rate, because it drains you. And then you got the EMF issue and all that. But yeah, so I think it's a big issue that people need to be aware of.
Definitely. On that subject, one of the other questions I was going to ask you is about myopia and just this issue, which is related to a lot of the stuff you've talked about so far. But myopia is this growing epidemic from people looking at screens too much.
Yes.
And so the best way to combat it is this sort of 20-20-20 rule.
Well, that's one thing to do. Another thing would be to go to your eye doctor and negotiate with him or her. This is really out there. Let's say, hey, doctor, you're giving me a 20-20 prescription. Can you give me a 20-40 prescription? So something slightly less. And that actually opens your vision more to wear something less. Another thing to do is you could start wearing reverse prescription glasses in your bedroom for like a minute, and that actually helps reduce the myopia, because now you're wearing a positive lens that puts you into a lot of blur. That freaks people out, because if you think about what's your belief system on blur, I don't like it. I'm out of control. It makes me tense. The idea is surrendering into the blur. It actually allows the eye muscles to relax. When you take them off, you're going to have less myopia. If you do that so I give you the 30-day challenge. Do that for 30 days. Your prescription is going to drop at least 10%.
Hey there, this is Ari again. One more quick thing before you go. Just make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Energy Blueprint, and also Make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's iTunes or Stitcher or anything else. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and I will see you again next week.